Go. All right, we're on. On the internet, you can be anything you want. It's so strange that so many people choose to be stupid. When we talk about security, we really need to talk about social networking. Because for a lot of people, it is what they perceive to be the lack of security that stops them from using social networking. I have no, what's the phrase? I have no something in the game. I have no skin in the game about whether or not you use social networking, but I am interested in making sure that you don't sound foolish about why you don't use social networking. So let me walk you through this. I refer to social networking as the green beans on the internet. And what I mean by that is, you know what it's like when you pass a plate of food to a child, and there's mashed potatoes, and there's a hamburger, and there's green beans. And they gobble up the mashed potatoes, and they gobble up the hamburger, but they won't eat the green beans. And you say to them, well, do you not like green beans? Oh, no, I hate green beans. Have you ever tried green beans? No, I've never tried green beans, but I know I hate green beans. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I know I hate it, but I've never touched it. So what I want to do is I just want to give you a couple of examples of why it is a technology that a revolution was named after. Because it is phenomenal what it can do, unless it's in the hands of somebody who's stupid. But as we know, stupid people do stupid things. And let's remember, you're a digital immigrant, so you're over the age of 40. Digital natives are under the age of 40, and half of them are under the age of 20, and their frontal lobe isn't fully developed. So we can't use what we hear kids are doing on the internet as any reflection of what we would do, because our frontal lobes are fully developed, and we're not going to make those kind of mistakes. But let's walk through. This is actually, so I live in New York City, but I have a cottage in Connecticut. So I have friends on Facebook who are both from New York and others from Connecticut. And I have a dear friend in Connecticut whose son is disabled and has a guide dog. And they were in a car accident not long ago, and when the car accident happened and the ambulance came to get them, the dog ran out of the car. They went to the hospital, they luckily got home and they were fine, but the dog was nowhere to be found. And this child really needed his guide dog, so the woman got onto Facebook and she put a picture of the dog up there saying what had happened. When I saw it, forwarded it. In Facebook, you call that sharing. I shared it with the people that are my friends on Facebook because I knew some of them lived in Connecticut. A half an hour later, when I looked back on the site, 1,500 people had seen the picture. And one of those people was on a Facebook page called Connecticut Lost Pets. So they shared the picture with Connecticut Lost Pets so even more people would see it. And what had started happening was people began writing below the picture where they thought they had seen the dog. People that didn't know this woman, saying, I saw the dog at Broadway and Smith, I think I saw the dog on Chester Street, and two industrious 16-year-old girls got their smartphones. 85% of people that look at Facebook on their smartphone. The girls got on their bicycles, and they started reading where people had seen the dog, and they followed the notes until they found the dog. His leash had gotten stuck in a chain link fence. And they didn't know these people. These were just industrious people looking at what was happening on Facebook. There's nothing else that gives us that kind of connectivity. So let's make it personal to you. Let's say that tonight, your family is all in Wisconsin for a reunion. A family reunion is happening in Wisconsin. It starts at 9 o'clock tonight. You can't be there because you really didn't want to miss this meeting because you wanted to learn about your passwords. Your daughter's in New York and she has a book deadline, so she couldn't go. And Uncle Charlie broke his hip and he's in the rehab center. But you're all on Facebook, as are many of your relatives who will be at the reunion. And so at 9 o'clock tonight when you get home, you're going to turn on your computer and you're going to connect to Facebook. And somebody at the reunion is going to have a smartphone in their hand, and they're going to say to Aunt Ruthie, who's 94 years old, who's had too much sangria, and she's dancing the Macarena, Aunt Ruthie, can I take your picture and put it on Facebook? Which is the polite way to ask somebody, right? You don't just put it on Facebook, you ask if you can. And Aunt Ruthie says, sure. And in the time it's taken me to say this, in much less than that amount of time, the picture's on Facebook. And you see it, and you type underneath it, oh, please tell Aunt Ruthie that I adore her. I can't wait to see her this summer. And your daughter types underneath it, tell Aunt Ruthie I'm wearing my favorite sweater. It's the good luck sweater she knit for me in high school when I have a deadline. And Uncle Charlie, flat on his back with his computer on his belly, types, tell Aunt Ruthie as soon as my hip heals, I want to cut up the rug with her. That all happened in real time across the United States, and it could happen across the world. That's what makes this technology completely and totally unique. Yes?
What's the downside of Facebook?
Okay, what's the downside of Facebook? Thank you. The downside of Facebook, the first thing is, I think for a lot of people, it's what I refer to as the time suck. You hear that some people are living on Facebook as opposed to living their lives. Now, you guys have much more important things to do and much more fun things to do. You don't need to be on Facebook that long. But it's not the reason to not be on Facebook. If you feel like you can't control your time on Facebook, get out that kitchen timer and say, I'm only going to be on Facebook for 15 or 20 minutes, once or twice a day if you do that. If you don't look at Facebook for 2 months, the world does not stop revolving. So you can come and go on Facebook as you please. So I think for some people, the downside is the amount of time some people spend. I think for some people, it's when you see people do stupid things, which is what we're going to talk about next. So that's Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but we're going to get to your question. Ex-Congressman Weiner. Do we remember the story about him? Right? Putting a picture of himself online in a towel. Would you have done that? So do you think that Facebook's going to make you do that? Or Twitter? No. You're just smarter than that. I think the downside for a lot of people is they feel that. They hear stories about people literally exposing themselves on these available websites that is a negative. But you wouldn't do that because it's not your instinct. So it's like, I think of social networking a lot like being at a dinner party, right? You're at a dinner party and this person's fantastically scintillating. And this person, you don't want them to choke on a chicken bone and die, but you'd like them to just stop talking. Of course, social networking is going to have that same dynamic of some things are interesting and some things aren't, because human beings are on social networking and some are interesting and some are not. But when it comes to this privacy issue, which I think is a greater problem for our generation than it is for younger people, because they don't think there are ever any ramifications for any action they take, right? They think they're immortal. So it's not that Facebook has caused that. Again, it goes back to the chocolate. Is it the chocolate's fault that I gained weight? No, I ate the chocolate. But let me just finish this. What I want to do is I want to give you ways you can protect yourself so that safety and that privacy issue doesn't exist. I've sat in on seminars for 45 minutes where somebody will walk me through every way to safely use Facebook with all the settings in the back and everything. And there's really only one rule. And the one rule is this, the front door test. Ask yourself, before you write a text message to a hooker, if you're Tiger Woods, before you put a picture of yourself on Twitter in a towel, if you're a congressman, or before you send an email to your mother criticizing your sister's interior design that she might forward to her by accident, if you're Abby Stokes, ask yourself if you'd be comfortable with the content you were about to share in a text, in an email, or on social networking, if you would be comfortable to tape that on the outside of the front door to your home. That's the way to not breach your own privacy, right? So it's not just that you're not going to put a picture of yourself in a towel on Facebook, because you wouldn't do that anyway, but you might on your first night in Hawaii when it's a beautiful sunset. Put the picture of the sunset on Facebook and say, the first of 14 beautiful nights in Hawaii. Now, I live in New York City. I may as well tape my keys to the front of my apartment and say, you've got 2 weeks to clear the place out because I'm not going to be here. So really, the downside for most people, I think, is a breach of their privacy, which it is a security breach in some way. But if you control the content that you're putting out there, you can have a Facebook page and never tell them anything about yourself, but use Facebook specifically to visit pages that organizations have. Your library has a Facebook page that tells you what the programs are. Your local restaurant has a page, it gives you discounts. But again, if you don't see a benefit, even though I've described why a lot of people do, but if that's not a benefit to you, don't feel compelled to use it. But it is a remarkable tool that we can't just poo-poo it away because we don't like the idea of it, because in fact the idea of it is so expansive about how we can communicate with other people, we can't completely ignore it. But all you have to remember is this, the front door test, to keep yourself as private as you possibly can when you're on the website. All right, so here we are tonight. And I'm here to give you all of this information about security, but I'm also here to talk to you about what I'm offering on my website, which is all free. I have I was here a while ago and you guys had an older version of this book, I think, but when I came out with this book, which is new, the subtitle changed. It used to be Computer Handbook for Late Bloomers, Technophobes, and the Kicking and Screaming, and we couldn't call it that anymore because now it's digital, which means we're talking about smartphones and tablets. So the subtitle changed to A Friendly Guide to Everything Digital because in fact the book divides up between PC computers and Apple computers, and divides up between smartphones and tablets, and within that divides up between Android and iPhone and iPad. So that's why it's called that. But this website, I had to create the website when I did the book because in fact I couldn't fit everything I wanted to in Is This Thing On? So we created a brand new website that has lots and lots of content that is free for you guys, and the website address is on everything that you're getting here with handouts, so you don't need to worry about writing it down. How many people in this room are retired librarians or teachers or married to one? Hail to you, you are the backbone of society. Without teachers and librarians, we would not be the human beings that we are. So what I did was I created a specific page on my website just for teachers and librarians, because especially librarians, because that's where public computers are often asked a lot of computer questions that are hard for them to explain. So further down on the page is a long list of documents that I've created that you can go to them, but specifically I did it for teachers and librarians. These are printable, free, downloadable documents. They explain, some of them are what you got here, how to create a folder, what are keyboard shortcuts, a glossary of computer terms. So you can print those and give them to anybody you want to, have them for yourself. Most of what's here, as far as the handouts, some of them are also in the book, like the glossary of terms. I couldn't fit everything in the book, so what I did was, I did 16 video tutorials on the website, and the book leads you to each of them. So I couldn't fit in the book how to put a passcode on your smartphone or your tablet so that it's secure should you lose it or should somebody steal it from you. I couldn't put in the book how to use Dropbox or Instagram, or how to copy and paste on a tablet. There just wasn't room for it. So what I have are these 16 free videos, and underneath each video are the words, click here for printable instructions. And if you click on the printable instructions, what you'll see are step-by-step instructions that you can follow after you've watched the video, and they're also cross-platform. So they're for Android and Apple products. If it's a computer thing, it's for PC and Apple products. So that's available to all of you. We also have a newsletter on the website. I try to send one twice a month. I've been lax in January and February, but I'll catch up. You can either sign up on the website, or I have an area here where you can just put very neatly so I can read it. You can put your email address down here so that you can sign up for the website. You can visit me on my website. You can write me an email, or you can find me on Facebook. I have books here available for purchase. They're $18. I have change for your cash. I take checks and I take credit cards. And I actually brought this other book here just as a lark. I wrote a book with one of my computer students. It's called Dinner Party Disaster Stories. It's $5. It's a collection of 18 dinner party disasters that were sent to us. And it has what I wrote is what to do if it should happen to you. And I did a pantry in the back. It makes a great hostess gift instead of a bottle of wine, or if you know somebody getting married. So on the cover, it's so only in New York. On the cover is an illustration of one of these stories. It was a cold winter's day in Tompkins Square Park, and somebody was having a musicale in their apartment. So big dinner party with some musicians coming, and it was very cold, and the older pianist was walking to the apartment. And by the time he got to the apartment, he actually dropped dead in the doorway of the apartment. And only half the guests had arrived. And only in New York, when you arrive at an apartment and somebody looks, they're lying down in the doorway, do you think, oh, they must have had too much to drink, and you step over them and go into the apartment? And so all of the guests had arrived at the party before word got out that the person they had just stepped over was not drunk, but was instead dead. The lesson we learned is don't tell 911 it's a dead body, because they don't come fast. You got to tell them it's somebody sick. But what happened, actually, the truth of the story is the hostess, she felt so terrible. His wife was in the apartment. He was parking the car. Word went around that he'd passed away, and the wife was so sweet because all of these great musicians that he played with were there that they turned it into a spontaneous memorial service. So that's the most macabre story in here. But if you're interested, these are $5, and I have them available as well. I'm going to stop and take a breath now, and I'm going to answer any other questions you have before I sit down and sell you some books. What other questions do you have?